Hi, this is Andy Hoffman, Marketing Director of Miles Franklin Precious Metals in our 25th year in business. Given several very exciting new developments with our offshore storage program at Brink's, Canada, I decided to tape a special podcast with our president and co-founder, Andy Schectman. After listening, we believe you'll understand why we're so proud of the program, which we believe is one of the safest, most cost-effective, and practical programs in the precious metals industry. But before I introduce Andy, I want to give some background on the history and general attributes of the program to help you understand why we're so proud of it. Following the 2008 financial crisis, which among other things created heightened fears of the reliability of certain offshore storage programs, Miles Franklin sought to create one with all the positive aspects clients would require, whilst excluding the typical negatives associated with various existing programs. To that end, we pursued a storage program where clients could be 100% confident their metal was not just a paper entry on a computer, but alternatively a 100% segregated account within a non-financial institution, easily retrievable and saleable, amenable to American investors, far enough from U.S. borders to make it safe, but not too far to retrieve, verified by not just third-party auditors, but Miles Franklin officers themselves, and priced not via the industry standard of percentage of bullion value, but fixed cost per ounce. It took several years of diligent research and negotiating, but finally, in late 2011, we found what we were looking for. In our view, our precious metal storage solution with Brink's security in Montreal, Canada, is the industry's best, which is probably why Miles Franklin's principals keep their personal metal there. In fact, I have been fortunate enough to watch my personal metal audited, enabling a priceless sense of mental contentment. With that in mind, I'd like to introduce Andy Schectman, who, with his father David, whom still writes with the Miles Franklin blog, founded the company 25 years ago. Andy not only runs a firm, but has been instrumental in building the Brink storage program, which by all accounts has been an unmitigated success in its first 3 years of operation. Good afternoon, Andy.
Hey, Andy. Always good to talk to you, buddy.
Okay, now first and foremost, I'd like you to discuss the concept of account segregation, enabling listeners to understand the concept of their own metal being stored at Brink's without any pooling or commingling of client assets.
Well, it's perhaps the most important part of any storage program is to have your metal segregated, whether it be in relation to the laws, FATCA and FBA, which mandate, we can talk about that in a little bit, I think, but as it relates to segregation, mandates that your metal must be segregated or directly held, as it's termed, in order to be FATCA and FBA compliant, amongst other things. But as it relates to segregated or pooled, your metals must be segregated to be compliant with FATCA and FBAR, and also I think for peace of mind, I know personally that I would feel much more comfortable knowing that my metal is not mixed with others, is locked up in its own box that only I have access to in favor of a pooled account. I can tell you professionally, the only problems I've ever had receiving metal from various depositories in the United States that house metal for IRAs, when some of our clients had taken what's called an in-kind distribution, where they take possession of the metal, or perhaps they sell the metal and we buy it back from them, and the metal gets sent to us from a few of the depositories that don't segregate the stuff. More often than not, it comes back in substandard condition. And I guess the bottom line is, if you're going to pay a lot of money for gold and silver or send stuff up that you already own, you want to know that it's being held in a segregated, not commingled fashion. And that's what we do.
Great. Now, please describe the auditing process involving both Miles Franklin officers and our third-party auditor.
So we go up, myself, Joel Kravitz, who is a senior officer in the storage company, and the Brink's vaulting staff go up twice per year to audit the contents. Every single bit of them usually takes us 12 to 14 hours, if not longer. And every second audit we have with us a company called Inspectorate. They are a third-party auditing firm that was recommended to us by Brinks and the Royal Canadian Mint that comes by and audits all of the contents themselves. So between our own visual auditing of it, myself, Joel, and the Brink staff, we have a third-party auditing to make sure that everything is above board, and that's very, very important to me as well, and enough so that I take part in every one of these audits because I want to make sure that everything is as it is supposed to be, and to my delight, we've never had anything but what we're supposed to have in every single box. Brinks does their own weekly internal audits as well, so certainly knowing what's there and accounting for it is very, very important to us, and we make darn sure that we go the extra mile to give our clients that peace of mind.
Right, and as I mentioned before, I actually went up in 2012 and watched my metal be counted. That was the first time Inspectorate came, and it's a very seamless process, and it gives you a lot of peace of mind, as you say, to know that it's your metal being counted by the best auditors around. Okay, next, let's go over the program's unique pricing strategy relative to current industry standards.
So one of the things that makes, well, the thing that makes us stand out above all other of the storage facilities, even those that we're involved with personally. You know, at Miles Franklin, we're still involved with the Global Gold folks out of Zurich, and they have storage facilities in Zurich, in Hong Kong, in Singapore. We have storage facilities in North Dakota that we're personally involved with, as you know, Andy, as well as others throughout the country that I have been involved with one way or another through business over the last 25 years, from Delaware Depository to Diamond State Depository to the other Brinks facilities, to all of them. Every single one that I just mentioned bills on a percentage of asset value. Basically what that means is that however much money that you have stored or value that you have stored with any of these institutions, the amount of money that you pay for that said storage is based upon the value of what you're holding. And the reason that is that the primary cost other than security in running a storage facility is insurance. And so if the price of what you're storing and insuring goes up dramatically, well, obviously the cost to insure and run the facility goes up dramatically. One of the things that was very important to me, I have to give most of the credit of this to Joel Kravitz of running and developing our Brinks program. He's my oldest friend. We go back to 1978, a trusted friend, and he's done a really heck of a job in building what I think is the best storage facility in the industry. But the one thing that I will take credit for is lobbying and lobbying and lobbying to charge our clients, bill our clients on a per ounce basis rather than a percentage of asset value. It's the one thing that I really wanted to, really the only thing I cared about, to be honest with you. Wanted to stick out, wanted to be different, just like we are different as a precious metals company, Andy. The information that we put out is unparalleled and unlike any other precious metals company. The fact that we dealt in Swiss investments, it's made us different. That's the only one in the country that was doing that. And as far as our storage is concerned, the fact that we are able to bill people on the number of ounces that they own, and Brinks finally acquiesced and allowed us to do it, makes us very different. In fact, so much so that we are the only company in the entire Brinks Global Services Network that has been given permission to bill on a per ounce basis. When we first finally broke through and they allowed us to do it, they acquiesced and said, fine, we'll give you a one-year contract. We were elated and a little nervous because we took on a big obligation, guaranteed to pay Brinks a certain amount of money every month, and that was before we had anything stored there, but we agreed to do it for a year. And within 6 months, it was so successful, and what we were doing was so unique and so refreshing to those who learned about our program, that brings us up to our contract, I believe, through 2018 now. I believe it's through November of 2018. And so the bottom line is that we are different and unique in every aspect as a company and as a storage facility with Brink's Montreal, in that you are charged by the number of ounces that you own, fixed through 2018, rather than the percentage of the asset value that is being held for you. And what that really means in a nutshell is you're betting on the come. You're betting that the metals go much higher, and if they do, your storage expense remains static, does not go higher, as it would in any other storage facility that I am aware of in the entire industry.
Excellent. Now, going back to what you mentioned before initially about the global fears of recent U.S. laws and regulations, if you could just go a little into FATCA and FBAR, principally as it relates to the Brink's storage program in Montreal.
Okay, so first and foremost, you never want to get your tax advice from a financial source, whether it be a financial advisor or a precious metals company. But with that being said, we've gone to great lengths to make sure that we are compliant. And there are others in the industry, in particular the Hard Asset Alliance, who most of our listeners are probably aware of, who have a program somewhat similar to ours, although in many ways quite different, but similar enough to where they are disseminating to the public that their program is FATCA and FBAR compliant. And in the way that it is structured, ours is identical. We believe our program is FATCA and FBAR compliant, but let me expand upon that a little bit. First of all, a little background. FBAR goes to the Treasury Department. FATCA goes to the IRS. Much like the CIA and the FBI not sharing information, evidently nor does the IRS with the Treasury Department. And as a result, the forms are incredibly redundant in scope. The questions are almost identical. So you have this added burden of having to do added filing. If you have any money offshore anywhere, more or less, they want to know about it. But because of the redundancy and because of all the people saying, we're wasting all of this time filling out these forms in June or July, not even part of our normal 1040 filing, and yet the forms are identical in scope, let's get a little clarification here. So the IRS came out with a clarification statement a couple of years ago clarifying FBAR and FATCA. As it relates to gold, it said the following. If you're buying gold and silver from an American company, and that gold and silver is directly held, meaning segregated, in a non-financial institution, meaning Brink's, meaning your own personal residence, meaning buried in the ground somewhere in Canada or in Zurich or wherever that somewhere may be, then there is no reporting. If your metal is pooled, non-segregated, and or held in a financial institution of any shape, form, or size, then it is FATCA reportable and FBAR reportable. So the bottom line is that our program offers segregated gold purchased through an American company and or stored in a non-financial institution. Now, one caveat to that, you don't have to purchase it from us. You can send your stuff up. The American company part basically deals with this. When you have an account in Canada or in Zurich as it pertains to storage, or in Singapore, maybe not so much Singapore right now. There are a few companies that you can do personally, but let's say for sure Canada and Switzerland, the individual doesn't own the account. The company owns the account. There's a parent account. In this case, it's our parent account, Miles Franklin. We are the one person and the only person that they are focused on. The sub-accounts underneath us, in this case, your personal sub-account, Andy, or a client's personal sub-account, is theirs 100%. We can't access it. We can't touch it. We can't do anything to it without permission and written authorization from the client, or it's the same thing as stealing and you go to jail. My point is simply this, that as far as the IRS and the Treasury look at this, your gold is being held with an American company, Miles Franklin. Happens to be held in a segregated account in Brink's, Montreal, a non-financial institution in a segregated fashion. According to the way the law is written, according to our attorneys, according to Bob Bauman, who wrote a report specifically addressing FATCA and FBAR as it pertains to our account. Bob Bauman is the general counsel for International Living and the president of the Sovereign Society. Very, very smart man, an attorney, an ex-senator, I want to say, or congressman, has written specific reports to his high-paid subscribers saying specifically our account is FATCA and FBAR compliant. And as you can tell, I've kind of gone the extra length as it relates to this topic because it's something very, very important. It doesn't matter that I believe, it doesn't matter that Bob Bauman says so, it doesn't matter that the folks at Hard Asset Alliance are espousing to everyone that this is all FATCA and FBAR compliant. The IRS can do whatever they want, whenever they want. They've proven that. The government can as well. But as far as we know, to the very, very best of our ability, these accounts are FATCA and FBAR compliant 100%.
Right. And of course, as Andy mentioned in the beginning, anytime you are considering an offshore investment, you should certainly get your own legal advice. We are not giving legal advice. We are just telling you what every legal person in the industry has told us. Now, I guess
exactly right.
Okay, on that topic of government-related issues, are IRAs or other U.S. or even Canadian government-sponsored retirement accounts able to hold physical gold or silver in the Brink's Montreal storage program?
You can. It's somewhat challenging. There is a law, a very obscure law that most people aren't aware of, and that law says that, and I don't know when Congress made this law, but the law basically says that gold or silver held in a qualified account outside U.S. jurisdiction has to be either gold or silver eagles. Now, what's interesting about that is that the U.S. Mint makes gold buffaloes as well. And so as a result, you would think that gold buffaloes would be acceptable. Somewhere between 1986, when they started making eagles, and 2006, when they started making gold buffaloes, Congress passed this law. So if we look at how it relates to Canada, the Royal Canadian Mint, I'm going to answer this question in another long answer, but I think clarification and understanding is important. Rather than just giving you an answer, I'd like to give a little history behind it. Prior to 1970 or thereabouts, 71 or 2, when the Royal Canadian Mint came online, the only way people would buy gold would have been the old European coins, the British sovereign or the French or Swiss franc, or in the mid-60s, the Rand Mint started making 1-ounce coins. They were the first mint to make 1-ounce coins. The Rand Mint produced 22-karat gold coins, just like the American Eagle, a coin that has 1 ounce of pure gold, 24-karat, plus a sprinkling 1/10 ounce of alloy on top of the coin, rendering the net weight of the coin 1.1 ounce, rendering the purity 22-karat. So that was in the mid-60s. So somewhere around 72 or 3, I think, when the Royal Canadian Mint came online, they, I guess, thought, let's find a way to spur interest in our product. The best way to do that, knowing that the only gold anyone would have been able to buy up until that point would have been less than 24-karat pure, they imposed a VAT tax on 24-karat gold or anything under 24 karat gold that's imported into Canada. That's still on the books today. So how does that relate to this question in a very roundabout way? Remember what we talked about in terms of what is considered legal outside U.S. jurisdiction. Silver American Eagles, gold American Eagles. Now, the idiocy of our government, we would think that buffaloes would be acceptable. They are, after all, made by the U.S. Mint. Our attorneys have told us that that is skating a fine line.
And they are 24 karat gold.
Yes, the buffaloes are 24 karat gold, and outside of an IRA, there's no problem getting those up to Brinks. But because it is not specifically mentioned in IRA tax code, you are skating a fine line. It gives them carte blanche to go after you, and it's not something that I would recommend. So if you wanted to have things held offshore in Canada in an IRA, first and foremost, it has to be through an LLC. And because you won't find a local custodian that will do that for you, period. So you open up an LLC and you buy silver American Eagles and send them to Brinks. You can do that, but that's about the only thing that you can do with certainty. You probably could do buffaloes and get away with it simply because they allow eagles. They ought to allow buffaloes, but it hasn't been updated, and you're walking that fine line, one that I wouldn't advise, but one that I wouldn't say no to a client if they were adamant about it, just something that I wouldn't go out and tell people to do. Probably not a good piece of advice. Okay,
and for the listeners, now we're going to go into some less complex mental issues because these are some very important things that Andy's been going over that very few people understand. But these next few questions that we're going to finish with are more about logistics. So if you can start, just discuss the process of an American or a foreign client shipping their personal metal to the facility or having newly purchased metal, such as from us, sent there. Please discuss import issues related to the VAT tax and how the Brinks program can circumvent them.
Okay, if there is one fatal flaw to our program, this is it, is that sending your own product is not as simple as sending it straight to Brinks Montreal. The security at Brinks is such that they don't allow UPS or FedEx shipments to go into the gate, into the courtyard. So basically what happens is all the metal, you have to pay shipping twice is what I'm getting at if you're sending your own stuff. Your stuff gets sent to our depository. Even though our corporate offices are in Minneapolis, Minnesota, our depository where we keep all of our product and do all of our logistics is in Fargo, North Dakota. So everything gets sent to Fargo. So let's say you're sitting on 100 ounces of gold and you want to send that to Brinks. You first box it up with our assistance and our insurance and send it to Fargo by registered mail or UPS. And again, we assist you in doing that. It's rather simple, and assist in the insurance. That gets sent to Fargo, where packages at the Dakota Depository are always opened under video camera and dual custody, meaning two people examining what was opened. It is then packaged, repackaged, under the very strict guidelines that Brinks mandates, and everything is then shipped directly up to Brinks, where once again it is opened under dual custody and camera and placed into client's new account, and the paperwork then mailed to, or a copy of the inventory and receipt statement mailed from Brinks directly to the client. As far as purchasing new metal is concerned, same deal. Give us a holler. We lock in the order and ship it directly to Brinks Montreal. In both cases, some cases we were able to, on large enough orders, have things delivered directly from the Royal Canadian Mint, but all that does is remove any shipping costs. In all the cases, there are no import or export customs or duties or any of those things that would otherwise be cost prohibitive to doing this. So, you know, getting stuff up there is really not a problem at all. If a client has stuff stored right now at a depository, this is the one case, if it's a large enough amount, if it's stored at Delaware Depository or Brink's Utah or Brink's Manhattan or Diamond State Depository or any of the others, if it's a large enough amount, we can do a Brink's to Brink's delivery where Brink's actually comes and picks it up and ships it directly to Brink's Montreal. And the reason we can do that is because the third-party company, like Diamond State, is verifying the contents. And when they package it, they're packaging it under camera as well. So that is an option as well. And we can get quotes from any corner of the globe. If you have an account in Zurich, if you have an account in Hong Kong or at the Perth Mint or wherever it may be, and you want to move it to Montreal, give us a call. We call Brink's Global Services, and within usually a few minutes we can get a detailed quote on shipping large amounts from any registered vaulting service to Brink's Montreal. So whether it be from your home in Colorado or your home in Zurich or a vault in Australia, we are able to assist clients in any shape or size of getting product directly to Brink's. Whether it go through our system in North Dakota or not will depend upon the size of the order and where it is being stored.
And to finish that thought, because we talked about the VAT taxes on gold that's less than 24 carats, what if you are, say, an American that's holding gold eagles that wants to ship them up to Brink's? How does it work to avoid that VAT?
What we can do right now, one of the things that, again, as I mentioned, a common theme in this discussion, Andy, is being different. And I like to be different in this industry because we live in such a homogeneous world where everyone only cares about price. And I think that is a big mistake in life. You know, when you're going to the heart surgeon, you don't go to the least expensive. When you're going to the attorney, you don't go to the least expensive. You go to someone who's capable and honest and it has integrity. And so I think this is very, very, very important as it relates to your question. Now, I was saying how we're different. We're different in so many ways. It is such a homogeneous world, and I think if you focus only on price, you will be led astray. One of the things that makes us different is our bid prices. I believe we offer the strongest bid price in America, and especially if you bought the metal from us to begin with. But in this case, I am able to bid somewhere in the neighborhood, I'm not exactly sure what the bid price is right now on Gold Eagles, but high enough so that I am able to swap a client directly into brand new Maple Leafs without them paying a penny for it. I will do that for listeners. Call us up. You got Eagles. You want to send it up to Canada. We'll swap them into 2014 Maple Leafs brand new. Krugerrands, I can't do that with because the bid price is not high enough. But we can mitigate the expense. It doesn't cost very much to do that with it all. So any coins that are not 24 karat, we will convert them into Maple Leafs or gold bars or kangaroos or buffaloes, whatever the client wants. And in doing such, we will not charge a buyback commission to buy back whatever it is he or she is trading.
Excellent, excellent. Now also, if a U.S. client wants to sell his Brink's stored metal, how is this accomplished? And what if a client wants his metal liquidated or shipped back to the States?
So that's all done by filling out the proper security paperwork and faxing it back. In many cases, we are able to remunerate the client, pay the client before the metal is even transferred. We keep enough money around in cash so that we can handle most size orders immediately. In other words, you call me up, you say I have 100 gold Maple Leafs in Brink's, I need to sell 30 of them, and I need to get a wire as soon as possible. So we would tell you to fill out the form, answer the security questions, fax it back to us, Normally, if you've transferred that to our parent account, we will wire the funds that day. Now, cash flow being the way that it is, that doesn't always happen. Worst case is it has to get boxed up and sent back to our logistics center in North Dakota. We have a more or less a 72-hour guarantee that we will have it there within 72 hours, at which point the wire would be sent out that day. So turnaround is, you know, in many cases immediate. Worst case scenario, 3 days. We can ship it anywhere in the world that Brinks or UPS or Postal delivers. We can liquidate it and have it wired anywhere in the world that you would like. So in terms of liquidity, it is tremendously liquid, and flexibility, very flexible. We also have a relationship with Perlator Courier in Canada. They will deliver to any address in Canada, whether it be a bank, a brokerage, a personal house, a hotel, you name it. So we've gone to great lengths to try to be as flexible and as friendly for the client as possible.
Okay, and finally, is there any way that a client, American, Canadian, or otherwise, can arrange a special viewing of their metal just to make sure it in fact exists?
It's tough. We have had some fund managers who have referred clients come up there. They've had to do very, very big background checks. We've had newsletter writers come up there. Again, they're background checked and they can come up. The average client, it's almost impossible. That we have gone to lengths to make it possible, but it can be costly. Basically, it goes like this. And it would only really make sense with gold because the cost in silver could be very prohibitive, but it would work with silver too. Bottom line is this: the only facility that you can do this in is in Brink's, Toronto. And it's a newer facility that has a secured facility for viewing. So if a client was adamant about it, we would have Brink's with complete transparency between Brink's Toronto and Brink's Montreal so that the client can see what's happening every step of the way, transport the metal held in Montreal to Toronto for viewing. It would come and still be in the bag from Montreal, would be opened in Toronto with the client there. They could view it. It would then be bagged back up and transported back to Montreal. So it's one of those deals where it is possible, but it's a little bit more costly. A better thing to do, I think, would be to send some of your own personal metal up there and ask for some of it back at any time and see how the process works. But to actually view it, you would have to go to Toronto, meet one of the officers, either myself or Joel, and in conjunction with the staff at Brink's Toronto, we could make that happen. So it is possible, but it's not something that I would recommend unless we're talking about a very large amount.
Well, excellent, Andy. Thanks so much for the detailed answers. And to our listeners, we hope this tutorial helped you understand just how simple the process of precious metal storage and retrieval can be with Miles Franklin's Brink's Montreal program. Moreover, we have written a soon-to-be-published article with further details, which will be titled Brink's Montreal, the World's Best Precious Metal Storage Program. And of course, if you have further questions, please call us anytime at 800-822-8080, or alternatively, feel free to email me at ahoffman@milesfranklin.com. Thanks, and have a great day.
Or me at Andy at milesfranklin.com as well. And one last thing before we say goodbye, Andy, keeping consistent with the theme of being unique and different, we encourage and recommend people call us and get their questions answered. As the president and owner of the company, I actively take phone calls all day long, and I'm happy to do so. We believe very much in education and earning one's trust and business. Business comes after you earn the trust. If you've done a good job at earning someone's trust and answering their questions, then the business is the easy part. So please feel free to call us, email us, contact your broker at Miles Franklin, your representative. or myself personally, or Andy. And thanks for the time today, Andy. I appreciate it very much.
And thank you.